An official police SUV navigates through a flooded, impoverished village, finally coming to a halt in front of a dilapidated mud hut. The door opens and a high-ranking IPS officer steps into the rain. She approaches a laborer standing in the doorway. Then she drops to her knees in the mud, begging him for forgiveness. People with supreme authority do not typically surrender their dignity to those who possess nothing. This scene suggests a cataclysmic breach of trust, a mistake so severe that a lifetime of power cannot erase it. 7 years earlier, Sanjeev and Deepika lived in opposing realities. Sanjeev was a daily wage laborer who spent his nights studying under a single bulb, determined to pull his family out of poverty. Deepika was the sole heir to a massive estate, yet known for her grounded, humble nature. They met during a torrential rainstorm. A local bus broke down, leaving Deepika stranded. Sanjeev walked her to safety, expecting no reward, unaware of her family's fortune. That single act of selflessness led to their eventual marriage. Deepika's father, a wealthy talker, eventually gave his reluctant blessing. He laid down one rigid condition: survival depends entirely on absolute trust when the trials begin. This diagram represents the talker estate. When Deepika's father died suddenly, it left her as the sole owner of a multi-million-dollar empire. This transfer of wealth created a power vacuum, drawing aggressive, incoming threats directly toward her inheritance. The couple had bonded over shared values, but they had never faced external pressure. This sudden influx of unprotected money provided the exact incentive opportunistic relatives needed to test the limits of their foundation. Two of those relatives, Vikram and her uncle, saw an immediate financial opportunity. If they could separate Deepika from her husband, they could easily manipulate her and seize control of the estate. They waited for a vulnerability. It arrived when Sanjeev's mother fell deathly ill. Desperate for medical funds, Sanjeev briefly considered using a small portion of the estate's land as collateral for a temporary loan to save her life. Look at how this information flows in this flowchart. Sanjeev attempts to secure a loan to save his mother. Vikram intercepts this request and twists the data, feeding a corrupted narrative back to Deepika that her husband is actively trying to steal her inheritance. To guarantee the fracture, Vikram delivered a final psychological blow. He produced fabricated photographs showing Sanjeev secretly meeting with another woman. In reality, she was a distant cousin asking for financial help, but the images were deliberately framed to suggest infidelity. Overwhelmed by her father's recent death and confronted with these manufactured lies, Deepika broke. She demanded an immediate divorce and expelled Sanjeev from the estate. The conspiracy worked quickly. When grief and isolation are paired with physical evidence, a lie becomes almost impossible to distinguish from reality. The immediate fallout of the divorce was fatal. With no access to funds and the overwhelming stress of the separation, Sanjeev's mother passed away, her eyes fixed on the door, waiting for a daughter-in-law who would never return. Over the next 7 years, Sanjeev channeled his grief into action. He outfitted his mud hut with salvaged books and benches, operating a free school so the village children could build the future he was denied. Meanwhile, Deepika directed her sense of betrayal into relentless academic discipline. She spent years in isolation, studying day and night, eventually clearing the grueling USPS exams to become an elite IPS officer. Both individuals achieved extraordinary personal success and served their communities. Yet their accomplishments were built over a hollow core, because the trauma driving their ambition was entirely based on an undiscovered lie. The truth finally surfaced when an elderly estate worker named Ramlal made a deathbed confession. He admitted to Deepika that Vikram had orchestrated the entire plot, exonerating Sanjeev completely. Deepika shifted from a grieving victim to a relentless investigator. Leveraging her authority as an IPS officer, she pulled 7 years of property records, communication logs, and legal filings. This timeline tracks the estate's ownership. When we map out the document transfers from 7 years ago, a clear anomaly zone emerges. This exact period perfectly overlaps with the intercepted communications and the stolen estate funds. The paper trail was airtight. Deepika used this evidence to corner Vikram and her uncle, legally stripping them of their stolen wealth and initiating their criminal prosecution. The judicial system is equipped to punish conspirators and return stolen assets, but no legal ruling can retroactively erase 7 years of emotional devastation. Which brings us back to the flooded village. Deepika returns to the very mud hut she abandoned, standing before Sanjeev and the entire community. She avoids a quiet private apology. Instead, she publicly exonerates him, declaring to the village that her husband was entirely innocent and that she was the one who failed the test of trust. Sanjeev listens. Then he reaches down into the mud and helps her to her feet. He forgives her, recognizing that her return was driven by a genuine pursuit of the truth. Trust functions as a structural requirement to protect a partnership from external sabotage. Once that foundation is shattered by deceit, only a relentless pursuit of the truth can rebuild it.